All right. Welcome in to the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs Moran. We do it every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. High noon. That's why we call it that. Although today, let's be honest, 12:06. So, we push it sometimes. RadioMisfits.com. RadioMisfits.com is where you can find all of this and more. Let me catch my breath here, guys. I'm just running around I got my head cut off. So where are the... There we go. Here's the chat. Now the chat is fixed. All right. Let's see who we have in the chat room today. Come on. Who's in first? Totally expect. Look at this. We got Byron. We got Dustin. Hey, D. April's here. Jeff's here. Leslie's here. All right. Everybody's here. I don't see Taranda. Oh, my God. Let's hope she's traveling. Let's hope. Cam's here. What up, Cam? Everybody's here. All right, very good. Let's gather around. Let's get those beanbag chairs, some yoga mats, whatever it is you need to feel comfortable. Form that soul circle of life. Join hands, and then just let's get into some of this nonsense. My boy Jeff's here. How's the paw, Jeff? Jeff injured his paw on Christmas. He cut it. Chuck's here. Hiya, Chuck. That's it. I just like to see everybody saying hi. Ah, man. So, hold on. Sorry, I'm texting with my former partner, Kelly, because she's traveling and we've got to figure out how we're going to do our little football podcast that we do. That's, I'll tell you, hadn't been going well for the last couple of weeks. We call it Practical Picks, Kelly's Practical Picks. You can find it there on RadioMisfits.com. What it is it's the entire slate of NFL games for the weekend. So if you're a betting man, although you can't bet in Texas, do Texans know that? I mean, how aware are you of how big sports betting from apps on your phone is everywhere else? It's huge. And it's just been in the last 5 years. I think it was like 4 years ago. I was still living in Chicago when Illinois made sports gambling legal. The first thing that I noticed was every sports radio station, every sports radio show suddenly completely changed. They're no longer about sports. They're just all about point spreads now. Why? Because the only people who are advertising big on sports radio are the gambling sites. So that's kind of changed it, and that sucks, especially since I'm not really a gambler. But anyway, that's what this is, Practical Picks. Me and Kelly, we picked the whole slate of games. She picks them. She has a very unique formula for picking these games, and she typically wins, although the last couple of weeks have not been good for her. And although she started out just a couple of weeks ago, she was way above 500. She was like 20 games above 500 for the season. Now it's kind of creeping back on her. So it's very important that we get that show in this week, even though she is traveling. So we're going to figure out a way to do that. Also, thank you to anybody that was hanging out with us this morning. We're filling in for the downbeat on 97.1 The Freak. It's myself, the Radio Misfits. It's everyone who can be there. Started out as Pugs and Sybil. That was kind of how it was supposed to be. But Sybil's busy. Sybil's got a life, and so she's traveling this week. So we lost Sybil. Then it was just down to me, Emil, and Lacey, who, and by the way, that's not a bad crew. I always enjoy working with Lacey. And what the hell was that? Oh, maybe I could close this and have a little bit less glare. And then today we lost Lacey. So Lacey's gone. Now tomorrow it's just going to be me and E. And then on Friday it's just me. But that's not how it is. Trust me, we got some surprises. So thank you for everybody who's been hanging out with us there as well. Hi, Whitney. Whitney's here. Let's see here. The executive producer of today's show is Terry S. How do you get to be an executive producer, you might ask yourself? Well, big tipper of the day, person who tips the most. Terry was the only person who tipped yesterday. We haven't been doing so well. This month is not good. So if you support this kind of talk radio and you feel so inclined, help us out. Drop a little something in the tip jar because we always knew that Christmas was going to be a bad month. Just didn't expect it to be this bad. All right, moving on. Here's what we do here. I run through all the events. I get you all prepped up on everything that you need to know about the world, right? I'll give you the headlines, the hot topics, the trends. If there's something that's being buzzed about online, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to talk to you about it. I don't spend too much time on any one subject. We just, I give you a hot take and we move on. We don't do politically divisive nonsense. That's not what this is about. I don't care how you vote. Nobody does. Stop it. The way you vote shouldn't be how you are, branded in life. Yet I'm seeing a lot of people that's dangerous. That is not good. Brand yourself as a decent human being who just likes people Hey, keep your other things, inside. That's why there's a curtain when you go vote. We don't do that here. We don't get into it. I like everybody. I got friends all over the place. They're all nuts. Yeah. I don't know. They probably say the same thing about me. So how do we do this show? Here's what it is. It's 4 distinct segments. We call them quarters, or I call them quarters. The first thing is we do a little bit of this day in history, kind of a jag we get on. Only we call it erstwhile on this day, and we go through some of the events that I thought were interesting that have defined our understanding of this particular day. Quarter 2, birthdays. People were born on this day. Interesting people born on this day. We look at them. We say this person is having a birthday. Are they cool? That's the long and the short of that. Third quarter, that brings us to the deads. I like the deads. This is where we go through people who died on this day, and we decide whether or not they went to heaven or did they go to hell. Yeah, it's fun. We get to sit in judgment. Those are the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, the meat and potatoes of this daily experiment, the meat and potatoes, that's the headlines, the hot topics, the current events, all the things that are happening today. So at the end of this show, here's my hope for you. You understand everything about this day, what makes it significant, what makes it interesting, and you know all the stuff that's actually going on today. So, see, 4 quarters. All right. If you're ready, I think it's time that we get started. So let's get started with, hold on. Oh, man, I'm not ready. My throat is really getting crushed. I couldn't imagine if I had to do like the 9 p.m. show that we do with Parker, the Radio Misfits 9 p.m. stream. Not good. All right, let's get started. It is the 20th. I'm sorry, I got a bad glare on my computer. It is the 27th day of December, year of our Lord, 2023. December 27th is the 361st day of the year. That means 4 more days left in this year. 4, we're down to 4. You already have your New Year's Eve plans. All right, let's go into quarter 1, called Erstwhile on this day. So we take a look back at all the events that occurred on this day that are memorable. Why? I don't know, just because it fills time. On this day in 1922, Japanese aircraft carrier Hosho becomes the first purpose-built aircraft carrier to be commissioned in the world. Look at that. The Japanese invented the aircraft carrier. I bet you thought it was an American. I did, just assumed. On this day, erstwhile, on this day in 1927, Kern and Hammerstein's musical play Showboat, considered to be the first true American musical play, opened at the Siegfried. I don't care. This is Showboat, not a thing. Don't even know why I mentioned that. On this day in 1929, Soviet General Secretary Joseph Stalin orders the liquidation of the kulaks as a class. That's some power. You can just order an entire class of people to be liquidated. And did that really liquidation? Was that like a process, or are we just using that as a fancy word? He just meant kill all the kulaks, or did he liquidize them? I don't know. On this day in 1932, Radio City Music Hall, showplace of the world, opened to the public. That's right. On this day, Radio City Music Hall. Never seen a show at Radio City Music Hall, but I've been in the building. It's a big building. It's an impressive building. New York's an impressive city. On this day in 1968, the Apollo program, Apollo 8, splashes down in the Pacific Ocean, ending the first orbital crewed mission to the moon. And I take exception to that. Apollo 8, I mean, I get it. They were the first one to go into moon orbit and all that, so I guess they went to the moon because they were in moon orbit. But it's Apollo 11. Apollo 11 was the first one to land on the moon, so let's get it straight. Let's not give Apollo 8 credit. Apollo 8, they were a cog. They did a thing that they needed to do to get to the next thing that needed to be done. Apollo 11 is the important one. On this day in 2007, former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto is assassinated in a shooting incident. Here's all I know about former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. She was kind of hot. Like when she was first elected to office in the mid-90s, she was kind of hot. I remember going, that's interesting. On this day, erstwhile, 2019. I mention this because I don't mention plane crashes anymore. I used to mention plane crashes, but there are far too many of them. And I have this rule that like planes crashed all the time in the time period between World War II in like the year 2000. Like, I think that's World War II to 2000. They hadn't worked all the bugs out of commercial air travel. They didn't know what flange nuts to use to hold the wing in place properly. That things were happening. Weird things were happening with like wings are falling off, engines were, you know what I mean? They didn't have the bugs worked out. So it took for me, I believe, between like the end of World War II and 2000 for us to probably as a society go, no, they got it now. They got the air travel thing down. And then, of course, we had September 11th. But those were not plane crashes due to mechanical failure. That's my concern. I can't control the outside world and all the crazies that we coexist with. But mechanical failure seems like something that we can really power down to a minimum when it comes to air travel. What is my exception? Like far Asian airlines, African airlines, and Eastern European airlines. Those are the ones that still crash. And on this day in 2019, Beck, B-E-K, you already know it's sketchy. Beck Air Flight 2100 crashes during takeoff. Kazakhstan. I can't pronounce the name of this place, but Kazakhstan is the country, the town, the airport. See, don't fly any Kazakhstani airlines. I once flew like a budget Irish airline between Dublin and London. And it was like, well, we just need to get over to London. So let's just take this airline. And we took this like budget Irish airline. And I was kind of concerned. But then I was like, well, we're just jumping over the Irish Sea. This isn't hard. This is like crossing. This is like going from Chicago to, Western Michigan. You're just crossing. But it was sketchy. But even that was Irish. That was European. I figure that's, pretty well regulated. But get me on a Kazakhstani plane, you're out of your mind. All right, let's do birthdays. Bottom, bottom, bottom. They say it's their birthday. Adam says Ryanair. No, Ryanair is a real airline. That's a major airline. This was something like Spirit of Shannon, I think. Something like that. It wasn't like the big airlines over there are Ryanair and Limerick Air and I don't know what else, but it was one of the sketchy ones. No, Aer Lingus is like their big one. Those are the expensive tickets. The Aer Lingus is the one where you get like, actual redheaded stewardesses with brogues that flirt you up. That's a fun one. I've been on Aer Lingus once. Birthdays. Let's talk about people born on this day. Born on this day in 1901. How about a big hearty hello and a happy birthday to the long dead Marlene Dietrich. You guys know who Marlene Dietrich is? Marlene Dietrich is another one of these people, and I say this all the time. We have a much better selection of famous people now because now it's hard. Now it's a whole bunch of famous people with talent who have to compete against each other. There are tons of people who go out to Hollywood with lots of talent who don't get discovered. I don't believe that was the case like 60 years ago. I think like 60, 70 years ago, if you decided you wanted to be in the movies, that was not something that everybody wanted to do. So you had a pretty good chance. And how I like to say this is, there were a lot of people, if you had a modicum of talent and you were somewhere near a camera, there was a good chance that you were going to be in front of that camera. That's just how it seemed. Marlene Dietrich seems like that to me. This was in the early days of Hollywood. She was a German actress. She didn't speak English, but she made a movie that became popular. And then Hollywood was like, let's pay her a bunch of money. And everybody's like, but she doesn't speak English. And then they made her famous. And she was considered like one of the most beautiful women in the world, Marlene Dietrich. Now, I want to show you guys some pictures of Marlene Dietrich because, of course, this is a different era. And, well, let's look at her. This was, I don't know. See what I mean? I mean, you're telling me there weren't more attractive women in Hollywood at this time that she becomes the most beautiful woman in Hollywood? Here she is. Boom. That's Marlene Dietrich. She looks like your hot grandma, right? Here's the first problem I have with Marlene Dietrich. She paints on her eyebrows. I don't like that. I don't like that look. It reminds me of like, I don't know how close you can get. Yeah, there she is. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. Nah, I'm going to pass. All right, we're going to look at that. See, look at this. Look at this one. No, thanks. All right. Happy birthday, Marlene Dietrich. I never understood you. I don't know one damn thing you were in, but for some reason you seem to be a very big and highly thought of star. Born on this day in 1901, Marlene Dietrich. Born on this day in 1939. How about John Amos? How many cool things have John Amos been in? I mean, let's just start from the beginning. Good Times. He's James Evans. He's the dad in Good Times. Then he would go on to be in all kinds of cool things. Wasn't he in Rambo? or I don't know, something like that. He oftentimes played a badass. He's the ageless John Amos. I don't know how old that guy is. He seems like he's been around forever. And I think he's dead because he played Admiral Fitzwallace on the West Wing. He was a character. He was a major character in the West Wing. He played the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Fitzwallace. And in an episode of the West Wing, he got killed in a terrorist bombing. And I think somehow, somewhere in my mind, I just went, oh, John Amos is dead. But he's not. He's still alive and celebrating a birthday today. Born on this day in 1944, Mick Jones. Who's Mick Jones? Well, you got a choice. We're talking about the music, Mick Jones. Who is Mick Jones for music? Well, once again, you got a choice. There's two of them. There are two Mick Jones who are worthy of shout outs. Would it be the Mick Jones who was in The Clash and Big Audio Dynamite? Because that's a very important Mick Jones. Could it be the Mick Jones who was in Foreigner and Jukebox Hero Mick Jones? It's that one. It's Foreigner's Mick Jones. Standing in the rain in a heavy downpour. Born on this day in 1944, Mick Jones. Born on this day in 1948, how about Gerard Depardieu? Yeah, Gerard Depardieu. Gerard Depardieu. He was born on this day in 1948, and he ain't having a good birthday. Gerard Depardieu has not had a good day in quite some time because, you see, there's about, 3-4 dozen rape charges hanging over Gerard Depardieu. He's been scandalized over there in Francie, wherever he is. He's a French actor over there. He did like 1 or 2 movies here, right, in America, but we know his name. He's not the guy. Also, by the way, this is for me, not maybe you do too. Do you remember the guy who won the Oscar, the foreign dude, and he got up on the chair and he was like, and he like kind of went crazy. It's like a famous Oscar moment. Okay, that's not Gerard Depardieu. And I say this because I thought that was Gerard Depardieu. It turns out that's Roberto Benigni. And they're two totally different dudes, two totally different countries. But I'm an American, so Rome and France, same thing. They're both not here. I don't know if Roberto Benigni is being charged with all kinds of rape and sexual assault and all that, but Gerard Depardieu sure is. Born on this day in 1948. Born on this day in 1966, Ava LaRue. Ava LaRue, it's a terrible name. It's a terrible, that's a terrible name. Ava is not a terrible name, but Ava LaRue, that doesn't do it. Here's why that's weird. She's so pretty. Ava LaRue was an actress. She never really took off. I thought she would. I first started noticing her in like the 80s and the 90s. I'm like, man, she is like the most beautiful woman ever. You know who I think she played? I think she played Annette Funicello in the Annette Funicello story. And here's why that's important, because rare is it that somebody, an actress, plays a legendary actress and is actually prettier than the legendary actress. Like, we've seen this a lot. Like Jennifer Love Hewitt tried to portray Audrey Hepburn. With all due respect to the very attractive Jennifer Love Hewitt, she ain't Audrey Hepburn. And there's like this big drop off. You're like, Ava LaRue was prettier than Annette Funicello. She was, sorry. And Annette Funicello is hot, or at least she was. Ava LaRue's a little hotter. You know where we've seen it also recently, where the actress playing the other actress is actually hotter than the actress she's portraying. We've seen it twice. We saw it in that Marilyn Monroe movie with, I don't even know what that girl's name is, but it was just from like, whoever that girl is. My God, she's way more attractive than Marilyn Monroe was. I think Marilyn Monroe's way overrated. I don't know what that actress's name is. The other example that I have of this is the Hulu Pam and Tommy movie from last year. The girl they cast to play Pamela Anderson is hotter than Pamela Anderson. Anyway, happy birthday, Ava LaRue, born on this day in 1966. She never really became a big star, but she was, still someone that I liked when I was like 20, 21. Born on this day in 1969, China the wrestler, China, the woman's wrestler. Oh man, China. I interviewed China once. And it was just one of those interviews where I just felt sad. Like you talk to this person and there is certainly a degree of exploitation with that. Now she went along with it willingly, but she was kind of a freak. She was a freak human, and she probably went through a whole lot of taunting and misery as this freak human. And then she was able to sort of, turn it into her business. And I guess that makes it better if you're able to, ring the cash register off of the thing that has caused you great distress your whole life. But I mean, it can't be a feel good. She was messed up. I mean, just talking with her, she was just messed up. She was not a person. She's dead. She's dead now. She died. Of course she died because, person is terribly sad. She not, and by the way, just for the record, not like for me to have that kind of empathy for someone after talking to them, it means that they weren't a jerk. She was nice. She was fine. But there was just this thing where as I'm talking to her, I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, China, born on this day in 1969, American professional wrestler and actress. She died in 2016, I believe, of a drug overdose. Born on this day in 1975. Where's Byron? I got Byron. Oh my God, here we go. Don't do it, Byron. Just walk away from this one, Byron. Born on this day in 1975, Heather O'Rourke. That's right, American actress. Remember her from Poltergeist? They're here. And then she died. Byron will tell you how she died. I mean, there's, it's pretty clear how she died. But Byron will tell you. Byron will tell you another version of how Heather O'Rourke died. And I don't know. It has something to do with the Obamas or something. I don't know. It's something. It's one of them things that we love about Byron. Heather O'Rourke, little girl. She was a sweet little kid. She died on this day. Not on this day. I'm sorry. She died in 1988. She was born on this day. She started out on Happy Days. Do you remember her on Happy Days? She was like Fonzie's adopted daughter. That's where she came from. She was so cute. Let's see. Yeah. What else do we have? Born on this day in 1995, Timothy Chalamet. Complicated feelings with Timothy Chalamet. One, the pretentious name is just, ugh. And what do I mean about pretentious? That's not how you spell Timothy. Well, fine. You're French? That's cool. Chalamet. I will pronounce your name Chalamet. I won't pronounce it Chalamet. That's fine. You want to be a little bit, European. That's great. Chalamet. But that's not how you spell Timothy. That is not how you spell Timothy. He spells Timothy Timothe, umlaut E. What? Yeah. I don't know. 2 E's? Get out of here, douchebag. Born on this. I like him, though. He was good in Dune. I don't think I've seen Chalamet in anything else. Didn't he make a bunch of gay movies? Didn't he make a movie where he was like a twink to a much older man or something? Wasn't that his breakthrough film? I never saw that. Not that I have any problem with that. I don't. Well, not at all. I think people know that. But things appeal to me or things that don't appeal to me. I don't want to see a love story. I don't want to see a love story. Well, actually, I was going to say I don't like love stories, but then, I do have sort of a rom-com thing. I used to say I hate rom-coms, but now I admit that I actually do like some rom-coms. Some rom-coms are good. What is Notebook? Is Notebook a rom-com? That's not a rom-com. That's just a love story, right? All right. Anyway, moving on. I don't like love stories. There's got to be some comedy in it. There's got to be either a friend of the main central girlfriend who's kind of wacky, something like that. I like that. That's a rom-com for you. Timothy Chalamet. Dune. That's it. He was good in Dune. And then, he did some other things, and they all look like a bunch of stupid, boring art house stuff. There's nothing but dumb, stupid art house stuff on TV now. I keep looking at that Maestro on Netflix, and I watched the first 10 minutes of it, and I go, yeah, it's everything I thought. It's boring, pretentious, condescending, stupid. Although I will give you this. What's his face? Bradley Cooper, who is quickly becoming my favorite actor of all time. He's the only reason I might go back, because he was pretty interesting playing that guy. But we're talking about Timothy Chalamet. Born on this day in 1995. He's okay. Born on this day in 1999. Let's talk about this one. I like this guy. He's another one that the experts got wrong, because experts. Brock Purdy, celebrating a birthday today. Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL. I mean, he was drafted. I mean, you could always say that. We're like, well, he was drafted. We did see something. We did know something. 7th round, last pick in the draft, turns out. Playing like an MVP, I don't know. Nobody can understand this, because nobody can understand anything about high draft picks, especially when it's a quarterback. I'm sorry, but Bryce Young, the Carolina Panthers gave up an absolute franchise decimating ransom for Bryce Young. And he doesn't look good. He looked small back then. And I'm like, he looks even smaller in the NFL. But whatever the experts said. I need a quarterback over 6'3". I'm sorry. I need a quarterback that's in the size range of like a Herbert, who is small in this range. So we'll go with him as the smallest. And then like maybe Josh Allen at the biggest, with Dak and Justin Fields right there in the middle. That's the size I need in a quarterback. I can't have these 6-foot quarterbacks anymore. I'm sorry. Did you see Kyler Murray last week? He got like 3 balls batted down. Why? Because he's 5'2". And worth $230 million. Whoops. All right, there you go. Those are your birthdays. One They say it's their birthday. All right, let's get into now the deads. Let's talk about people who are dying. These are all the people who have passed away. And we decide whether or not, based on our understanding of what they've done, accomplished, or whatever, we decide whether they're in heaven or hell. So let's move into this. How about Hal Ashby? Dead on this day in 1988. Hal Ashby is an American filmmaker, terrific filmmaker. I don't know, like I can't do a draft on him because I'm not all that familiar with Hal Ashby's films. Typically, when it comes to filmmakers, I like to do a draft. Being There, I think here's what I know about Hal Ashby. He did Being There, and that's kind of enough. Being There is awesome. I know that he was also the original director of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but that Milos Forman then came in and took over for him for whatever reason. I don't know. I think he was also the original director of Tootsie. He was a guy who would like start directing films and then like get angry and then he'd be replaced or whatever. But he did make some good films. Let me see. Let me quickly run through his filmography. Shampoo. I don't know if you remember Shampoo. Shampoo was a movie with Warren Beatty and Goldie Hawn. Big hit. The Last Detail. Okay. Last Detail with this is the Last Detail with, what's his name? Jack Nicholson. Harold and Maude. Harold and Maude is a very interesting movie. I don't know if it's a good movie, and that's why I've seen it like 15 times, or, and this is possible, maybe it was one of the only movies that was on HBO back in 1985, and I saw it like 100 times. Harold and Maude is about Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon. Bud Cort was probably born in 1950 and Ruth Gordon was probably born in 1895. And it was a love story. Yeah. Hal Ashby, Harold and Maude. He also did Bound for Glory, which is the Woody Guthrie story. I never saw that. Being There. That's the one. Being There. Being There is the one. That's Peter Sellers. That is one of the just great films of all time. So Hal Ashby, dead on this day in 1988. We're putting him in heaven. I'm putting him in heaven for Being There. Being There is such a beautiful film. God, I love that movie. If you've never seen it, Peter Sellers' last film. He was supposed to, what was it supposed to be called? Like the blossoming or something about flowers. But Hal Ashby was all set to write and direct the follow-up, a sequel to Peter Sellers' Being There. But Peter Sellers died. So, dead on this day in 2002. Oh, another big one. We did a draft on him the other day because his birthday was last week. But George Roy Hill. I'm absolutely putting George Roy Hill in the, what do we call it? We're putting George Roy Hill in the, in heaven. That's right. He is one of my favorite filmmakers. George Roy, we went through a draft, so we're not going to do the draft again. But let me remind you of the movies that George Roy Hill put out in his time. How about... let's just write Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Slaughterhouse-Five, The Sting, The Great Waldo Pepper, Slapshot, The World According to Garp, Funny Farm. Come on. Yeah, we're putting George Roy Hill, putting him in heaven. What else do we have? Norman Schwarzkopf. All right, preemptively, he's going to hell. He's a general. Come on, you got to put generals in hell. They bring war and terror to people. General Schwarzkopf. He died on this day in 2012. Putting him in hell. Preemptively, putting him in heaven. Dead on this day in 2015. Meadowlark Lemon. Remember the Harlem Globetrotters? He was like Mr. Harlem Globetrotter. He's in heaven. You can't be Gen X and send him to hell. Meadowlark Lemon. Although we probably got into some stuff. Like imagine like 1978, Sioux City Ramada Inn, snowstorm. The Globetrotters are staying there for the night. They've taken over the bar. Oh my God, I bet the Globetrotters, they raised some hell. They had to have. Dead on this day in 2016. Preemptively, we're going to put her in hell. Here's why we're putting her in hell, because she wants to go to hell. She doesn't want to go to, any place where she's got to behave herself. Dead on this day in 2016, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. Like the first, it was like her first role. I think it was her first role. I think was she in Boyfriends with Belushi? Was that after? I think that might have been after. But I believe, imagine that, your first role, Princess Leia, iconic. I mean, forever. She's going to be, people are going to, well, will they? Or are we going to forget about Princess Leia? Like, will future generations, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, Carrie Fisher, there you have it, folks. Carrie Fisher, she's going to hell. We're putting her in hell because she's a wild lady. She's going to enjoy hell. One of the, there's a nice little needle in a haystack kind of show on Max. If you have HBO, I think it might be that. But if you have Max as well, HBO Max. And if you've never seen it, it is really fascinating. And if you like have any kind of feelings of oh, I like her towards Carrie Fisher, you need to watch her one-woman show on HBO Max called Wishful Drinking. And it's about Carrie Fisher. This is probably about 5 years before she died. But it's Carrie Fisher just on a stage talking about her life. And if you know anything about Carrie Fisher, you know that she was raised in a very crazy way, and she knows her parents are very famous. Her mother is Debbie Reynolds, and her father is Eddie Fisher, and they were big in the 50s and 60s, and she was sort of a Nepo baby, if you will, by today's parlance. But she's also a drug addict and an alcoholic, and she pushed back against, the Hollywood system. She's got crazy stories. It's called Wishful Drinking. It's about an hour of just Carrie Fisher telling stories about Hollywood during her party days. And it is fascinating. It is really funny. She's so charming. She's so funny. She owns everything. Like you get the very real feeling that all of this is true. Because why would she make this up about herself? Like, why would she? It's great. Carrie Fisher. I'd like to put her in heaven, but I don't think she wants to go there. So Carrie Fisher's going to hell, but we love her anyway. Dead on this day in 2016. All right, let's get into the real show. Quarter 4. This is where we get into all of the things that you need to know. Stuff that's happening today. Once again, I'll announce the producer of today's show, exec producer, my friend Terry. Terry always drops a little something. Thank you for dropping yesterday. Terry's the only person to drop yesterday. Appreciate you, man. Show is dying. Let's move on. Israel is the top story. This is what we always hit with first. Israel. Oh my God. Hold on. There you go. I don't think I should have to pound the keyboard that hard to get it to engage, but it does. What is happening here? Israel, there is some military concern about Israel being spread too thin. Apparently, they're fighting this war on multiple fronts, the north of Gaza, the south of Gaza. They got troops in the West Bank. They got people spread out all over the place. Let's see. People are now starting to say that maybe the initial plan of Israel wiping out Hamas was a little bit over. Well, let's just say that it's probably not going to happen, that they're starting to see now that the way that Israel would go about wiping out Hamas is probably not going to be allowed by the world, but tough decisions during wartime, right? Who knows? Erdogan, who's in charge of Turkey over there, he's talking schneik on Netanyahu, which isn't good. You don't need Turkey getting involved. We've got the Red Sea. We've got the Red Sea on fire with the damn Houthis, the Yemeni Houthis getting involved in defense of Gaza. And then you got the Gaza and they got the Hamas. And now you got Turkey saber rattling. You've had Iran saber rattling, although with all appreciation that is due. Everybody's been pretty quiet. It's been, right? Wasn't it October? When did this all happen? Was it October when it first went down? October 7th? Is that it? Boy, that's a long time ago now that this has been going. It seems like it was just recently that the Hamas attack on the Israeli settlements occurred. Let's see. What else do we have here? U.S. shoots down 12 suicide drones, 3 anti-ship missiles, and 2 land attack missiles fired by the Houthis in the Red Sea. So there you go. That's your wrap up. You want more about what's going on in Israel? Plenty of places you can go to. I am not your guy. I'll just give you the bullet points. The Michigan Supreme Court. This is a big piece of news. The Michigan Supreme Court has, well, let me make sure I get this absolutely right. The Colorado Supreme Court, they banned Trump from being on the ballot. And Michigan was hearing the same kind of case. And today, the Michigan Supreme Court votes to keep Trump on the state's 2024 ballot. Let's see. This is a big one. He's 1 for 1 in these ballot challenges. Michigan Supreme Court is keeping former President Trump on the state's primary election ballot. The court said Wednesday it will not hear an appeal of a lower court's ruling from groups seeking to keep Trump from appearing on the ballot. The state's high court said in an order that the application by parties to appeal a December 14th. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter who this is. This is not political. I don't like that we're keeping people off ballots. I mean, dude's obviously running. He was president before. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. I think that metric changes if he's convicted. And then we start to go, I don't think you can do this. I think you can not vote for him if you don't want to vote for him. But to have a group of old dudes in robes tell us who we can and cannot have the opportunity to vote, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I know you can always, write in, but not the same thing. You got to be on the ballot. All right. Anyway, there you go. Supreme Court in Michigan has decided they are not going to hear an appeal from a lower court ruling, keeping Trump on the ballot in Michigan. New York Times is suing Microsoft. This is apparently, people are buzzing about this. Like, this is a really big deal. It has to do with AI generated content. Apparently Microsoft is using New York Times content into I don't know what any of this means, you guys. Again, if this is the kind of story you're interested in, go elsewhere. But now the New York Times is suing Microsoft over something AI based. You can say that. Somebody says, did you hear about what's happening with nobody's, you know what? Nobody's going to say, why did I even choose this story? I don't even know why we're doing it. Nobody's going to ask you about that. And I don't know enough about it to get you prepped up sufficiently. So moving on. Here's an interesting one. All right, let's take a deep breath and talk about this story here. Canada. Something very interesting is happening in Canada, something that I didn't even know was happening in Canada. But then again, I guess I'm an ostrich with these kinds of things. First of all, assisted suicide. So we know about assisted suicide in this country because of what happened in the 1990s with Dr. Jack Kevorkian. Dr. Jack Kevorkian was helping terminally ill people end their lives and their misery doing all that stuff. Dr. Jack Kevorkian was turned into a bad guy. Whatever. Okay. So this is the question of death with dignity and how much of a say do you ultimately have over your life? Are you truly? I have some very strong feelings on that. I thought that was settled. I thought assisted suicide was pretty much illegal. I thought it was illegal in this country, and I believe that it is, although I don't know. I don't really know. We don't hear much about it. I assume it is. But I guess I'd also assume that it was illegal everywhere else. No, it's actually just the opposite. Assisted suicide for terminally ill patients is a thing, and it has been all over the world. We're the ones here in America who are like, no, let them suffer for Jesus. Like, that's what we're about here. What most of the pushback to it seems to be. Christian-based suffer for Jesus. Ooh, man, that is rough. Would it surprise you to learn that Canada, just over the border for years, has had assisted suicide? Doctors, compassionate care doctors, they have these laws where if you are terminal and if you are dying, you can opt to end your life. And look, I think that's great. I think we should all have that. Please don't tell me that you're telling me that through this course of treatment that you can keep me alive for another 3 years and I can have, I can go to birthday parties with my grandchildren and all that. And it's all going to be wonderful. Oh, what's that? Oh, but there's going to be constant pain. Come on. What are we doing? Why are we taking people who are suffering already and saying, we can prolong this real long? That's not fair. So look, people want to take themselves out. They should be able to take themselves out with the hell? And not in their garage. That's terrible. Suicide's a terrible thing. But this is different than suicide, okay? This is assisted suicide. This is somebody's going to die anyway, and they just want their life to be over. They want to die with a little bit of dignity, and they want to have control, right? I get that. I totally get it. But did you know that Canada is now considering assisted suicide, death by doctor, as some people call it, death by doctor for mentally ill patients? Patients in Canada, this isn't a law yet. Patients in Canada who are not suffering from terminal illnesses, who are not dying a slow and, sad death. People like me, who suffer with depression, or people who, maybe schizophrenics who have to take pills and all this. They can live with it, but it is kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't know about that. I've seen examples of schizophrenia, and it does not look good. Death by doctor may soon be available for the mentally ill in Canada. Canada already has one of the most liberal assisted death laws in the world, offering the practice to terminally ill and chronically ill Canadians. But under a law scheduled to take effect in March, it's already scheduled. I thought they were voting on this in Canada. But under a law scheduled to take effect in March, assisted dying would also become accessible to people whose only medical condition is mental illness, making Canada one of about half a dozen countries to permit the procedure for that category of people. This is troubling. I don't like this. And look, I'm all about, right, understanding your mind and all that. I'm not schizophrenic, and maybe I'm not bipolar, and I'm not any of those things. I have my lane that I deal with, and it's terrible, and it could very well be terminal. People, depression is the one where you kill yourself. Bipolar people, that's a whole other thing. Schizophrenia is a whole other thing. I just don't think people who are diagnosed as having a mental issue should be allowed to make this kind of a decision. And does that sound ignorant? It might. And I apologize for that. But if you're not thinking straight, if the diagnosis on you is that you are not thinking straight, I'm really troubled by a law that would say, hey, we acknowledge you're not thinking straight, but right? I'm not crazy for this, right? I get it. You got a brain tumor, and every day you're going to lose sensation in another, 10 inches of your body, right? So it's going to slowly creep up, and it's going to be terrible, and you're going to die. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drown on your own spit at some point. That's what's going to, no. Those are my last moments on earth. Are you out of your freaking mind? Come on. So I get that. But I don't get somebody who's crazy being allowed to make a decision of this magnitude. All right, there you go. That's people are obviously pushing back on this, and they probably should, because that is weird. All right, here's another weird story. This one comes out of where, ladies and gentlemen? What state has the weirdest? That's right, Florida. Here's a story that comes out of Florida. A Christmas to remember, to be sure, for this little collection of Floridians. So there was a killing. Look, this is a sad story. It's a tragic story. Is it tragic? I don't know. It's a truly American story. It's either like a truly American story, or the kind of story that would happen in like a South Vietnamese village somewhere, right? Just my point is this isn't happening in England. This isn't happening in Toronto. This isn't happening in France or Berlin. This is mayhem. This is crazy. Florida teen kills sister during fight over Christmas gifts, says the sheriff. So here's what happened. There were two teenage brothers. I believe, do we have an age here? I want to say 14 years old, 14 and 13. 14-year-old boy. Yeah, okay. Let me read it to you. A Christmas Eve argument between teen brothers over who was getting more gifts ended in a tragedy in Florida. A 14-year-old boy shot and killed his sister, who had tried to defuse the fight between the brothers, and then, in turn, was shot by his older brother. The brothers, a year apart in age, were Christmas shopping on Sunday with their mother and their sister, Abriel Baldwin, 23, and her two sons when the argument broke out. They had this family spat over who was getting what and how much money was being spent on who. This according to Pinellas County Sheriff's Bob Galtieri. The argument continued as the family made their way from the store to their grandmother's house in Largo, Florida. The brothers were each in possession of a gun. The sheriff said, of course they were, because they're 14 and 15 and obviously have complete control of their emotional state. Why wouldn't they have a gun? Oh, Jesus. They got to Grandma's house, and the 14-year-old takes out his gun and tells him he's going to shoot him in the head. The older brother said he didn't want to fight and asked his younger sibling to get out of the house. He said their uncle and sister, Baldwin, attempted to turn the situation around. The older brother said he didn't want to fight and asked his younger sibling to get out of the house, he added. Their uncle and sister, Baldwin, attempted to turn the situation around. Oh, so this is where the sister gets involved. So the two brothers, both of them have their guns. They're 14 years old, by the way. Both of them with their guns, playing with them in the house. 14. Because they're obviously responsible. This is obviously not a fucking mistake again. Because responsible gun owners, right? 14-year-olds playing with guns. You know what? This family's fucked up. This is gross. God, it makes me so mad. Because you people don't get it. Ain't nobody want to take your guns. But we got to be responsible with these guns. So what do we do to idiots like this? Throw them in jail forever? Would you sign off on that? Fuck around with a gun and it goes off and kills somebody because you're fucking around with a gun because you let a 14-year-old who was upset about the amount of Christmas presents he got? Can we kill those people? No, let's not kill them. Can we just make them human veal for the next 60 years? Make them live in a box in a prison somewhere, maybe somewhere public, so that all the rest of us can gather around and go, you weren't the responsible gun owners everyone talks about. Ha ha. Jeez. Terrible. This is terrible. And you know what? This family got what they deserved. Who is letting a 14 and a 15-year-old, who obviously both of them have serious emotional difficulties, who are letting them just walk around with guns? They get to Grandma's house. The 14-year-old takes out his gun and tells him he's going to shoot him in the head. The older brother said he didn't want to fight and asked his sister to get involved. That's where she got shot. You all need to leave that stuff alone. It's Christmas, the sister said while standing outside the property between the two. The 14-year-old, after allegedly threatening to shoot his sister and her baby. That's a nice family. The 14-year-old, after allegedly threatening to shoot his sister and her baby, is accused of shooting Baldwin in the chest while she was holding her son in a carrier. She fell to the ground and was later pronounced dead. She was holding his nephew, 14 years old. Her baby was not injured. Throw this kid in jail for the rest of his life. This is nuts. Actually, no. Yeah, oh, God. Throw him in jail for a long time. We'll get back to him in a few years. We'll deal with him. Seconds after the shooting, the 15-year-old brother then emerged from the house holding his own gun and shot his younger brother in the stomach. The 14-year-old was unarmed when his brother shot him. Apparently, he dropped his gun. The 15-year-old then fled, tossing his weapon into a yard nearby. Another great decision. These are 15 and 14-year-olds, man. These kids, I wouldn't even trust them. Galtieri said that both teams were arrested and that only one of the two weapons was recovered at the scene, expressing concern that the missing gun would eventually be picked up and used in another crime. Audio of the incident was captured on a neighbor's camera. We don't have the audio. Why would you say that and then not provide me with the audio? Because now I really want to. Don't you want to listen to the audio of this? This sounds crazy. Good Lord, these people. All right, moving on. Florida gonna Florida, you guys. 'Tis the season. But come on, man. Even, two of my closest friends have arsenals. They're all legal and all that, but they're both incredibly wealthy dudes, and they're always like, "Come look at my guns." And I'm like, "Oh, stop it! You're so gay for your guns." But even they would agree with me. They're like, "Wait, why were the two 14-year-olds running around with guns?" Come on, this is reasonable. Reasonable people have to be able to agree that this is a fucked up family who probably never should have had access to these guns. Well, you can't deny access. They didn't do anything wrong when they bought the guns. Oh, God. Really? That's the argument? They hadn't done anything wrong yet when they bought the guns? How about just being 14 should mean that you probably can't be running around? If your hormones are... Moving on. I hate this subject. I hate this subject because it seems so obvious. It just seems so obvious, and yet it's turned into, we can't do nothing because Obama's coming for your guns. Obama never came for your guns. You got ginned up by the gun lobby, and it made you dumb. It made you unwilling to look at the real world and go, you know what? We probably ought to keep fucking crazy people from having guns. But no, most of you supported bullshit that thought, no, let's not ban crazy people from having. Come on, man. I'm not some crazy lib who wants to take your guns. I like shooting guns. It's fun. But my God. All right, moving on. How about the top 20? Hey, here we go. You ready to downshift? How about the top weather events of 2023? Anybody interested in that nonsense? I am sort of. Here we go. It was a big weather year. And honestly, one of the things that are happening right now is actually one of the biggest weather. The Midwest is apparently, there's no snow, there's no cold. I think something's coming, but there's some crazy weather event that's going on in the upper Midwest, where places that are typically right now 0 degrees and with a foot of snow on the ground have nothing. It's like spring. And don't start with the whole global warming. It's been like that before. I grew up my whole life up there. I remember winters in the 80s where it was like, man, it's nice for Christmas. So stop it. But it is something that's happening. I'm not a scientist. I don't know I'm just telling you, it's happened before. The top 10 most impactful weather events of 2023, from powerful hurricanes and tornadoes to drought-busting storms and the deadliest wildfire in U.S. century. Here's a look back at the most unforgettable weather events. Now, I scanned through these, and they're all just a bunch of really terrible tornadoes that seem to have broken out. Then there's a couple of wildfires. But the one thing that I got here that they classified as a weather event that I wanted to mention, I thought it was interesting. Hey, you guys remember the Canadian smoke fires? Do you remember that? We totally forgot about that. Things from 2023 that the Chinese balloon. I forgot about that was big. The Chinese balloon, that really captured our attention for a period of time. Then we had the smoke. We had the smoke from the Canadian fires that made baseball games unwatchable for a couple of weeks there in the summer. The most notable tornado outbreak of the year, the most notable tornado outbreak of 2023 was the deadly and now historic outbreak that impacted large portions of the Midwest, South, and Eastern United States on March 31st and April the 1st. The year's second and final EF4 tornado was one of 122 twisters recorded across multiple states. AccuWeather's own storm tracker and meteorologist Tony Lawbuck captured incredible. I don't care about his footage that he got. Drought-busting atmospheric rivers unload record-breaking stream. I don't remember this. Oh, yes, I do. Remember the really bad rains? Remember when we had rains in California? When was this? And they were like, these are the worst storms ever. California is going to turn into one giant mudslide. And then nothing happened because, that's what weather's about. Getting you prepared for the worst, but then absolutely nothing happens. All right, I'm done with this. We're done. We don't need to waste our time with that. Here's an interesting story. This is off the Study Finds page. There's a page that I go to that has all the latest university studies and stuff like that for release, and stuff, new things we've learned. This is fascinating, you guys. Buckle up. Listen to this. Scent of a woman's tears bring calm to men. So apparently female tears have a scent, and doctors are now saying it calms dudes down, which is interesting because I think women have always known that if you start crying, that the man will suddenly stop being aggressive and who will, become comforting or at least back off. We've always heard this with women and police officers, right? Get pulled over, start crying. So this is more of an explanation for why that's not just an act. That's actually something there might be some science behind as to what this is all about. So here, I'm going to read this to you. I thought this was fascinating. A woman's tears appear to carry the secret formula for easing aggression in men. Researchers have found that sniffing female tears produced a strange effect among male participants in an experiment designed to anger them. Compared to smelling saline solution, sniffing a woman's tears significantly reduced brain activity linked to aggressive behavior in men. An international team led by Shani Agran at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel note that prior studies have shown how the smell of female tears blocks aggression among male lab rats. This is an example of, how do you know that? Like, is there a thing? Is there like a aggression? I guess there is. I don't know anything about rats or brains or aggression receptors. This is an example of what scientists call chemosignaling. C-H-E-M-O signaling. Chemosignaling. It's a phenomenon that's common among animals, but still a mystery among people. What do I always say, guys? This is exactly what I'm talking about. So these scientists are like, hey, you know how animals can just totally tell everything about another animal just by catching a sniff of that? Yeah. Hey, I think humans might be able to do that too. That's what we're finding out. This whole thing, we only use 2% of your brain. That's not true, by the way. We use way more than that. I don't know what the number is, but we use way more than people say. It's not like we only use 3% of our brain. No, that means 97% is just not. No, that's not true at all. But there is a large chunk of the brain that we don't really understand what's happening there. And these kinds of things are what they're studying. And now they're saying that men, when a woman starts to cry, it's not just us feeling bad because we've made them feel bad and they're crying. There is something going on, like pheromones. Chemosignaling is what they're saying. Chemosignaling is something that exists in animals. It's a way they communicate without having to speak. And maybe there is a way for us to tap into that in the coming years. People, we are evolving. To examine the possibility that men and women also produce these odorless chemicals, the researchers delved into the chemical makeup of tears and their impact on the human brain. For the study, they gathered a group of men to participate in a series of 2-player games. Scientists designed the games to trigger aggressive behavior among the competitors. I wonder how they did that. And also led the men to believe that their opponent was cheating at the game. Oh, that would be a good way to do it. So if you got 2 strange dudes and you sit them down and you say, you're going to play a game of checkers, and then you make the other one think that the other one is cheating somehow. Yeah, I can see that being. It says, scientists designed the games to trigger aggressive behavior among the competitors and also led the men to believe that their opponent was cheating. However, the researchers gave each man the opportunity to get revenge by causing their opponent to lose money. Okay, that's interesting. What's that about? Causing them to lose money. Scrolling. While all of this was happening, researchers had the men smell a sample of a woman's tears or say, all right, so they get a guy all jazzed up. They get him all, he's cheating, and you're going to lose money because he's cheating. What? Here, smell this. Is that what they did? They got them all like jacked up and riled up about something and then made them smell women's tears. And while all of this was happening, researchers had the men smell a sample of a woman's tears, both of which, or saline, both of which are odorless. Results show that men sniffing the emotional tears of women saw their aggression and desire for revenge drop by a staggering 43.7%. During MRI scans, the team also found less activity in the prefrontal cortex and anterior insula among men sniffing women's tears. Both of these brain regions have a connection to aggression. So these brain regions, which you can watch them being stimulated in an MRI. They went with the aggression area of the brain. And when the dude sniffed the saline, that dude was still pissed off about the other guy cheating at the game. But when the dude sniffed the women's tears, that area of the brain, at least according to the MRI, seems to show a 43.7% reduction in the aggression. That's fascinating. I don't know. Let's go have some beers, you guys. Let's all of us go have beers and talk about that some more, because I think I could talk about that study forever. As a matter of fact, I might do it tomorrow on 97.1 The Freak. I'm just saying. I think it's a fascinating study. What else do we have here? Okay, all right, we got to mention these. A couple of deaths. We got a couple of people who died. Of course, here's the bigger one. Tommy Smothers of the Smothers Brothers. He died this morning. This was breaking as I was putting the show together today. Hold on. Sorry. What? Why can't I get... So that's interesting. There we go. Okay. Tommy and Dick Smothers, the Smothers Brothers, a legendary comedy team, took the television world by storm in the late 60s and early 70s with their insurgent and highly provocative comedy that was put on primetime, the kind of comedy that after the Smothers Brothers were off the air, you never saw any kind of comedy like that for years and years. They were trouble. The Smothers Brothers, the censors would have notes and they would disregard. They had the #1 show in America and they got canceled. They were troublemakers. Tom Smothers, one half of famed comedy duo, dies at 86 years old. Comedian Tom Smothers, who with his brother performed as the singing comedy duo, the Smothers Brothers, has died. He was 86 years old. Dick Smothers, Tom's younger brother and professional partner, said his brother was at home at the time of his death, which was related to cancer. So here, if you're picturing the Smothers Brothers, Tommy was actually the older brother, but he played the younger brother. Tommy Smothers was the dumb one. Tommy was Dick Smothers, the younger brother in real life. Dick was the more stable. He was the straight man. Tommy was the one that did. And you would look at this act and you'd go, oh my God, that one guy's pretty sharp, but his brother's an idiot. Fact of the matter is that it was the idiot brother who was actually behind the entire act. Dick Smothers, with all due respect to him, he would punch out at the end of the day and go home, probably golf, date some honeys. They were big, not Tommy Smothers. Tommy Smothers, the one who we're talking about who died. Tommy Smothers just slaved on that show. It was Tommy Smothers who sat in the offices and had those meetings with the censors and the network people. It was Tommy Smothers who was told to his face that your show is canceled. Tommy Smothers was the engine behind it. And it makes sense. He was the older brother. It's just that in the way they performed, you would assume, you'd think, oh, he must be the little idiot brother, but he wasn't. Tommy Smothers, very funny guy. Always liked those two. Dead this morning in Los Angeles, cancer. Also, here's a sad one. I don't know this person, but I know the movie and I saw the movie and I don't know who he is. I don't know if I've seen him in something else, but again, I know the movie and I remember the character that he played. And, so remember Parasite, that film that shocked the world by winning the Oscar about 3 or 4 years ago, the South Korean film. It was like the beginning of the whole South Korean thing where now everything that we enjoy in entertainment has to come from, South Korea. Music, movies, TV shows, whether we're talking Squid Game or K-pop or this, the star of the film Parasite. And here's the thing. Let me tell you, I cannot speak for K-pop. I don't know anything about K-pop. Don't know about K-pop. I can tell you I've seen one South Korean TV show, Squid Game, and it was awesome. I can tell you I think I've seen one South Korean movie, Parasite, and it was awesome. So maybe I shouldn't complain. Maybe I'm like, they're doing good stuff. South Korean actor Lee Soon-kim, Oscar-winning film Paradise, is found dead. Seoul, South Korea, Lee Sun-kun, I'm going to say K-Y-U-N, Lee Sun-kun, a popular South Korean actor best known for his role in the Oscar-winning movie Parasite, was found dead in a car in Seoul on Wednesday. His death after weeks of an intense police investigation into his alleged drug use. Isn't this weird? So South Korea has some incredibly stringent drug laws, whereas most of the world is sort of, revisiting what some might call draconian measures to enforce, drug laws. Not South Korea. South Korea is still pretty, drugs bad. So this dude was an actor, and I guess he got in trouble. He was being accused of, I don't even know what it was, but it was drugs. It's not like a huge thing. It's not like, it's not like he murdered somebody. It's not like he's a rapist but it's such a big deal in South Korea with like mandatory minimum times of like a year to 10 years in jail for just simple possession. South Korea, folks, you're an American. We have American laws. The other countries, they have crazy laws and they don't make any sense to us. But yeah, so that's what he was looking at. And instead of, being sentenced to prison, which I assume he probably thought, he decided to kill himself. Police and emergency officers initially found Lee in what they believe was an unconscious state in a car parked on a street in northern Seoul. Emergency officers later confirmed that he was dead. Police had been searching for Lee, 48, after receiving a report that he was missing. They refused to provide further details, including whether they had determined Lee killed himself, but South Korean media outlets, including Yonhap News Agency, said that Lee's family earlier Wednesday reported to police that he left home after leaving a message similar to a suicide note. Lee appeared in Parasite, which won Oscars for Best Picture in 3 other categories in 2020. The class satire was the first non-English language film to win Best Picture in the then 92-year history of the Academy Awards. Yeah, that was truly remarkable. That a movie where we all had to read it. I don't want to read movies, but for some reason I was okay reading Parasite. It was such an interesting story about people who become parasites to another rich family. They just live in their house. It's crazy. I should rewatch that. Hey, what is that? Hear No Evil, In the Everywhere Now. What is that show? The movie that won all the awards last year with Jamie Lee Curtis and what is it? Everything Everywhere all the time, nonstop. You better give up. I don't know what that is. Is that a South Korean movie? Is that another one from like the South Korea Hollywood? Because that movie's also awesome. By the way, if we're talking about movies, we probably shouldn't. I should probably get back to the story. This is how the train goes off the tracks. But I finished watching Rebel Moon, the new Zack Snyder movie that was supposed to be a Star Wars movie. But then Star Wars people said, yeah, we don't want to make this as a Star Wars movie. And Zack Snyder went, fine, I'll just make it as a normal movie. I watched Rebel Moon, part 1. Child of Fire or whatever. I don't know what part 1 is called because they're doing like the Hunger Games thing where there's another one coming in a couple of months, which is fine if it's a couple of months, but don't, make a movie, have it be an open end where it's like part 2 coming and then have part 2 be 5 years later. No thanks. So this one was, I liked it. I enjoyed it. A lot of people are like, well, it's a big dumb Zack Snyder movie. Yeah. So that's what Zack Snyder is. Big dumb. He ain't Bruckheimer. He's cooler than Bruckheimer. It's not like that. Or Michael Bay. He's not a Michael Bay. He's actually kind of cool. There's some darkness to his vision. I don't know. I like Zack Snyder. And yeah, everything's big and they blow up and all that. Yeah, I like it. Rebel Moon, Netflix. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So let's go back to the Parasite guy. The film's cast, including, I don't care. All right, now they're going into the cast. We don't need to revisit the successes of the 2020 Oscar-winning film Parasite to properly mourn the passing of Lee Sun-kyun, Parasite actor, found dead yesterday in Seoul, South Korea. Oh, here's. Have you ever heard of this? I've never heard of this. He killed himself with charcoal briquettes. Anybody? That's the cause of death. That's apparently. Is that a way that people kill them? I mean, I know that if you're in an entrapped place, it's straight carbon. I mean, so apparently he started like a grill, like a charcoal briquettes or something in his car, and that's how he killed himself. What? I mean, we all know about carbon monoxide, right? People have been doing that since cars and garages have, So But is this for like if you don't have a garage? Like, because it's carbon monoxide, you will choke to death and you will die if you just light up a bunch of charcoal briquettes in your car. I don't know, man. Oof. Jameson says carbon monoxide with a briquette, it works pretty easily and fast. Oh my God, that is terrible. I had never heard of that before. But then it kind of made sense. I'm like, well, if you want to kill yourself with carbon monoxide, but you don't, that's how many people have access to a completely secluded garage? Somebody's going to find you. They might find you too soon. And then, then that's even worse because, some people, they get found. They get, hey, look, any of you people out there with the Christmas blues and all that stuff, you're thinking about doing the carbon monoxide poisoning thing. Let me tell you something. Don't. Call me. Send me a note. We can talk. Seriously, I'm good at this stuff. I can talk. I'll make you a project. We'll be friends. So don't do it. But I forgot what was my point. Totally forgot my point now. Got distracted. Oh yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Don't do the garage thing. Don't, please. Here's why. Somebody finds you and it's not completely over, you're going to survive. But you're going to survive and you're going to have severe brain damage. Your brain will probably have been starved for oxygen, which means that you are so don't do it. The risk is somebody could find you. And maybe I suppose by the same token, somebody could find you right in the very early stages and save your life. But no, that's not as people with depression, they think about these things. They game plan all of them. It's like, okay, so what happens next? Who finds me? That's not a good one. Car in the garage is not a good one. I know it's Maryland. I think Maryland had the best one, sleeping pills. That's probably the best one. But that's not, geez, I shouldn't be saying that. I'm in a very good mood, by the way. So don't anybody be worried about me. Trust me. I haven't had the clinical ennui in a while. So I'm good. I'm in a very good mood. We've got very good things happening. I can't wait. 2024, this is going to be so badass, folks. We got such incredible things. All of us here that you've been streaming, even me and James and we all have, I'm not kidding. We all have incredibly big news to announce, and we just can't do it. We just can't do it yet because, all that. So anyway, so don't worry about me, but I'm just saying, don't kill yourself anyway. Don't. I keep going back. I don't know why this voice in my head keeps going, say the pill thing again. Talk about how that's the way to do it with sleep. No, I don't. I shouldn't be talking like this. It's just bad to put it out there. Okay, guys, this is freaking crazy. Do you know that down in Austin at the Elon Musk Tesla plant, so there's a lot of injuries down there at the Tesla plant, and now there's a class action. Some lawyer is suing, saying this place is way too dangerous. And they're like, it's no more dangerous than any other factory. You're just coming after us because it's Elon Musk. They're doing that whole thing. And this lawyer's like, any other factory? Okay. What about the robots that you're building at the Tesla factory that are turning on their engineer masters? Yeah, that's happening. They're building robots and the robots are fucking people up. They're just like, all right, here you go. Are you ready? You think I'm lying? Tesla. All right. Oh, sorry. Pop-up. I hate these pop-ups. Good Lord. Tesla robot attacks an engineer at company's Texas factory during violent malfunction, leaving trail of blood and forcing workers to hit emergency shutdown buttons. This is how humanity ends. When the robots rise up, this is just a little glitch. This is probably not supposed to happen for another 50, 60 years. I think it'll probably be 50, 60 years from now when the robots rise up. We're not there, but this is a glimpse at what we have to look forward to. Tesla robot attacks an engineer at company's Texas factory during violent malfunction, leaving trail of blood and forcing workers to hit emergency shutdown buttons. A Tesla engineer was attacked by a robot during a brutal and bloody malfunction at the company's Giga Texas factory near Austin. Two witnesses watched in horror How do you turn it off? Two witnesses watched in horror as their fellow employee was attacked by the machine designed to grab and move freshly cast aluminum car parts, not plants. It's a car plant, I guess, where it would work. The robot had pinned the man, who was then programming software for two disabled Tesla robots nearby before sinking its metal claws into the worker's back and arm, leaving a trail of blood along the factory floor. There you have it. So yeah, there's a class action about all this stuff that's happening. Oh, by the way, that didn't just happen. That happened like in 2022. But holy cow, how come we didn't hear about the robot fight? How come we didn't hear about the robot that turned on its... All right, here we go. This is the last one I got for you today. This is the last thing that's trending. I'll jump in and see if there's anything that I missed because it's only 1:21 here. 5 entertainment trends that define 2023. We get a lot of this nonsense now because it's the end of the year. We get a lot of these kinds of lists. So these are the big things that they're saying shaped the entertainment. This is the entertainment year of 2024 is going to be a little bit different. And these are the reasons why, because of these incidents that occurred and shaped the entertainment industry in 2023. How about the decline of the binge model? Yeah. I just talked about this the other day. I hate this. The binge model was amazing. What is the binge model? The binge model is the idea that Netflix is going to post an entire new season of a show all at once so that we can binge that show at our leisure. That was the great innovation of these platforms, the Netflixes and the Hulus or whatever. That's why you went there. The networks would make you wait an entire week to get the next episode. But you could now watch an entire season's worth of a show all in one sitting. And it was amazing. And it changed the way I watch TV. And it probably changed the way you watch TV too. It was great. Well, they're not doing that anymore. Less and less. Some shows still will put out the full binge. But now it seems like every damn show that I watch, I get drips and drabs. 1 week, next episode, next week. Sometimes they do like 2 episodes this week. Oh, how exciting. So now what happens is when a new show comes back, and let's say it comes back in September 1st, I can't watch that show until like November when there are enough episodes so that I can feel comfortable jumping in. Netflix turned TV on its head by releasing entire seasons of its original shows all at once. But in 2023, the crowded television landscape makes it harder for any one show to stay top of mind for very long without the release of new episodes. So that's the issue, that you can draw out. It's all a manipulation. We're always being manipulated. All right, another one of the big trends, the 5 biggest trends in entertainment from last year, 2023. Summer blockbuster blues. Summer blockbuster action films, that kind of thing. They used to define summer. They used to make up the bulk, the lion's share of a studio's profit end of year. Not anymore. There haven't been big summer blockbusters in years. The first couple of reasons, well, obviously the pandemic, movie theaters weren't open, but we've been back now for 2 summer seasons in a row. And I don't know where Armageddon is. I don't know where the big hit Marvel movie that opens on July 4th weekend is. What we got was Barbie. That's what we got. And that ain't a normal summer blockbuster. Summer blockbusters, not really a thing anymore, at least not the way we used to. How about this? The Barbie bump. There you go. I just mentioned it. The Barbie bump. As The Wrap reported, the smashing success of Barbie has been a boon both for Warner Brothers and for movie theaters everywhere. Let's see. One of the most prominent. I don't care. Whatever. We know how big Barbie was. It basically saved Hollywood after their big, long issues that they had. The next one, is this 3 or 4? I think this might be 4. Peacock takes flight. Peacock, NBC's digital streaming platform that they've been ramming down our throat for a couple of years now. Apparently Peacock is starting to take off. Peacock is becoming one of the big ones. They've crossed the 30 million paid subscriber mark, which is the indicator that you're one of the big boys. Up there with Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Apple TV. Well, now add Peacock. Not a lot that I watch on Peacock. I've got it in my head that I have to watch commercials, and I do. I was re-binging. I was rewatching The Office, and then I fell off that after like season 5. I was like 3 months straight. I was just like watching an episode with dinner, and then I fell off The Office because I think it was because of commercials. Poker Face. I would love to watch Poker Face. I love that chick. That chick that I don't know what she is. I don't know what's going on with her. Who's that chick? You know, the chick in Poker Face. She was also in American Pie. Natasha Lyonne, that's her. I like her. She's funny. She talks like a dude from Brooklyn in like a World War II film from the 1950s. I don't know, but she's also kind of cute. You know, she's like kind of cute. But anyway, never saw Poker Face. Why? Commercials. I don't trust Peacock. I probably should. People tell me Peacock is good. Disney's the successful reboots of The Little Mermaid and is that it? I don't know. Peter Pan. I don't remember that. I don't remember a Disney. They say that was one of the big things. Disney is still rebooting their films and having success for new generations over and over again. And the fifth one, the final one here that they're going to mention, the strike. Writers' strike and actors' strike helped define the entertainment industry, and now with new deals in place will certainly influence all that we experience in the year 2024. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, your 5 big entertainment trends of the last year. Barney says, what up, Barney? Barney says, if someone gets run over by a train, we don't say the train attacked that person. Well, why? A train is an inanimate object. I don't understand that. And it's on a track. I don't even know what this is in the context of, but that's an interesting thought. I think it's an extraordinarily flawed thought. I don't know what you could, if you're comparing it to human action, then yeah, because the train is, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. Hi, Al. Al says, so soon we will be getting a Mickey Mouse slasher film. Yeah, Al is referencing Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse copyright lapsed and went into the public domain. Although, as I've learned, my buddy KB, who sometimes hangs out in the chat room, that only applies to the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse. The original Mickey Mouse that didn't really look like the Mickey Mouse. Like apparently there are a couple of different versions of Mickey Mouse. So the Mickey Mouse that we all know as Mickey Mouse, hey, that's Mickey Mouse. That one you still can't use. That one is not in the public domain. But it's the weird Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse. You know, he's like skinny. He's very weird, a little different. I don't know, have at it. Guys, that's going to do it. We're out of show. I'm sorry. I know. I promised you at least 2 hours of a stream of consciousness, but we got to the 90-minute mark, and I am basically done. Byron says, I just got my own Steamboat Willie, if you know what I mean. I do, baby. It's my guy right there, Byron. The off-color jokes. Gotta love it. Barney says regarding the robot, sounds like the robot did what it's programmed to do and the guy was in the way. Well, yeah, I think that's probably the case. Because Barney, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm kind of being silly when I say the robots are going to rise up against us, because I think that all we'd have to do is probably just unplug them. And there's got to be a way to do that. Although I don't know, with AI, we're going to start having these autonomous beings, and maybe how long is it going to be before they're absolutely indistinguishable from a natural organic human? I don't know. That's it, guys. That's it. We're out. I love you guys. If you can help out the show, drop a little tip, because, you know, that's really not working out so well for us this month. This show does run on your, what do we say? They run on your gratuities. So there you go. We'll mention that. Thank you to Terry. Terry was our executive producer today. You're the man, Terry. Thank you. We appreciate you. I got nothing else. I would love to be able to wrap this up with a witty retort, but I can't. So I love you. See you tomorrow. High noon rant tomorrow at noon. I guess that's it. One more thing. I did want to mention this. Sorry. So yesterday I was telling you about how, and I even made reference of it today when I went through the erstwhile on this day segment, and I name checked the Apollo 8 mission, which on this day the Apollo 8 returned to Earth. It was the first lunar mission. Well, say it's the first one to actually go to the moon, but it didn't go to the moon. It went into lunar orbit, which, okay, fine. That's great. But you know what we're talking about. I am just obsessed, man, with this Apple TV series that I've been talking about now for the last couple of days. It's called For All Mankind. It's an alternative history of what would have happened if the Russians had gotten to the moon a week before us, and how would that have affected the space race, and how would that affected, you know, America and their dedication to developing more lunar projects. And it's amazing. I watched it, you know, when it first came out, but it's been around. Season 3 just started, and I started to watch season 3, and I went, I don't remember. Season 1 was like 4 years ago. So I restarted, you know, going and binging it again. It's so good. I'm enjoying it more the second time. I'm enjoying it more now. I don't know why that is. Anyway, there you go. That's my pick to click. If you've got Apple TV, you can check out For All Mankind, an alternative history. It supposes, what if the Russians had gotten there first? And by the way, it uses all real historical names and people and places and all that. One of the things that I thought was funny, because now I'm into the 80s, it starts out in 1969. The show starts on like June 15th, 1969, right? That's not July 20th. No, the Russians are the ones who got there first. So it starts out in the 60s. I'm now in season 2, and we're into the 80s, and it's like 1984. And all of the interesting butterfly effects. You know what the butterfly effect is? Is a butterfly flaps its wings, and, you know, the waves affect everything incrementally, all the way up to, you know, a baby sneezing in Nebraska. That's the butterfly effect. So it shows you throughout the course of this show, like the butterfly effect, that, yeah, the Russians landed on the moon first. You know what one of the butterfly effects of that is? Mark David Chapman never killed John Lennon. Like, there's like John, it's 1985 in the timeline where I'm at. And there's a TV on in the background, and it's John Lennon doing some, you know, some peace march, and he's still alive. What was another thing that I thought was fun? I'm like, what? Because I then stop and I think, okay, what could the butterfly effect of that be? Well, like, why would the Russians landing on the moon first somehow, after a series of domino effects, make it so that Mark David Chapman doesn't want to murder John Lennon anymore? I don't know. But it did. Who knows? Anyway, I'm loving it. I got so much more work to do today too. I still gotta go to the grocery store too. I'm getting my kid. Don't know when I'm getting them. You know, because I'm doing the morning show tomorrow and Friday. Is it bad of me to be like, man, I would prefer to just get him on Friday, because he's old enough to stay here. I'm not worried about, you know, because I got to get up. I leave for the radio station at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not, he can stay here. I get home at 10:15, 10:20. He's probably going to still be in bed. But here's the problem. Like, I'm going to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. Right? I don't know. Whatever. I love my kid. I'll see him soon. I miss him. I actually missed a week because he went out of town. So, but we're fine. I mean, I talk to him every day and all that kind of stuff. He was sick. He's getting over it. We'll be fine. All right, guys. I got nothing else. These are going to be my last words. Love you.